that used to be normal, but I've only been doing about 10 a week now, but used to do about 15, 20. Um, but what I'm saying is that man, the solar flares, the energy of the last few days has just been off the charts, and it's just not stopping, which is which is great. It's a great atmosphere to be in to do a show like this because I don't know. It just seems like all the ones that I've been doing recently have been with people that are very tapped in like you, and I don't know. There just seems to be this. I don't even want to say vulnerability. I think it's beyond vulnerability. I think it speaks to transparency, really.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so if you watch the show, you know I'm not real professional. It's just it's just a conversation, you know. It's a bit different, but yeah, I don't want to be without my manners. So I just want to formally welcome you to Soulogy. It's been a long time coming, and I'm real happy to be sitting with you today. And thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence.
Oh, thank you, Todd. It's an honor to be here. Special time. I think we just all reach our kind of personal flashpoint where, transparency is inevitable. And, here we are. It's been a long journey to reach my own, but it's been consistent and it's been going on for a long time. So it's a joy to be here.
Yeah,
Thank
it has been going on a long time. It's crazy because doing this show over the years, you know, we've done quite a few, you know, since 2017, about 4,000 shows. And it's interesting because it there's an element of the collective transformation, you know, in a present sense that the show picks up on, you know, either through the conversation, through comments and stuff like that. But I mean, it just feels like we're in overdrive right now. Like the turbochargers have kicked in. I mean, I woke up this morning thinking, well, I went to bed last night. I've been going to bed abnormally early, like at 10 o'clock, 10:30. And I woke up and I wake up at 12:30, 1 o'clock. I think last night, this morning, I woke up at 1 o'clock. And then I thought, I guess I'm going to be up a while. And then I got hit with some energy and I'm like, I'm asleep again. Get back up at
you.
4:30 and but yeah, there's just a phenomenal amount of energy coming in, and then with that three-eye atlas metaphoric, uh, aspect coming into our field. That's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, there's just so much pointing to we've arrived in a way.
We,
I think. Yeah.
we've arrived. We certainly have arrived. Everything is just, yeah, it's arrival time. It's home time.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're in New Zealand, and you know Jed Riverstone. We won't keep that. We won't hold that against you. And Denise Chadwick, our sister, who we've done many shows with both of them. Um, you mentioned before we went live that you came across Soulogy in what? No, well, God, would that be today, right? You said
Yeah, it was
November,
the 11th,
November.
the
Of,
11th of November, 2019.
isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Crazy, isn't it? We can't make it up, really.
So no wonder you remember. So 6 years ago, you came across Soulogy. You jumped on a live or a Zoom call that we did, uh, and but you were mentioning that prior to that moment, you had been weaving on your own for 13 years. I think is what you said.
13 years, yeah. I think I've got the maths right. From 2007.
Is that when
Um,
is that when you kind of woke up?
that's the biggest lid blowing off experience I've had in 2007. I also had one in 1989,
Wow.
but it was like a mini flip of the lid.
Well, what was the one in '89 like? You must have been very young at that time.
I was young. I was yeah, it was the month before and the month after my 18th birthday. So for a couple of months surrounding my 18th birthday. Yeah, I just, oh, I didn't see it as an awakening. I saw it as a what's going on here? But it was always, quite calm despite the drama. I had, I just suddenly I had experiences like telekinesis out of nowhere, um, mostly with electrical circuits, willing the volume to turn up on certain tracks on the stereo and it happening, and dimmer switches. I was really good with dimmer switches, blowing a lot of light bulbs. Um, my family thought I had a poltergeist. I knew I didn't. Um, but how do you explain that kind of stuff? You need, everybody, finds their own frame of reference. But I was actually really considering, I was really calm. And yeah, I asked it to stop. I asked it to stop after 2 months. And I said, please stop, please go away, whatever this is, but come back when I'm ready. Yeah, I just said, I'm not ready for this, but come back when I'm ready. And then 18 years later, exactly, boom.
That's wild.
Yeah, yeah.
These cycles, I had a huge revelation on June the 1st of this year, and it was a massive experience physically and non-physically and all that stuff. And I was shown for 2.5 days all these patterns that revolved around cycles of years. So there was a 14-year cycle that was the first one that came in, and there was a 11-year cycle and a 10-year cycle, and it just kept going and showed me how they were all starting to converge in the path in front of us. But the reason that it struck me what you said is because I had another experience that was just about 6 weeks ago, and it was a real life or death kind of out of body experience I had. It was pretty crazy. I won't tell the story, but part of what came in is I was shown that at 18 years old, same age,
Mm,
I had a walk-in, or a bigger aspect to me came in because it took me
yeah.
back to this moment. I was working for the union in a warehouse loading trucks, and I took a break, and then I had this moment, and it really struck me. I didn't get anything out of it at the time that I was aware of, but anyway, they showed me this, and then they were showing me 9-year cycles, and then but in particular 18 years. So in 18, and then 18 years later, just like you, I was 36 and I had an out of body experience on an airplane. And then it showed me at 18 years after that.
Mm,
and and so yeah, I think this is part of, we talk about memories coming back, but I think it's beyond just memories, like maybe memories that we blocked out, or memories from past lives, or even other galactic lives, or whatever the case is. But it's more than just the literal experience. It's the geometry, the mathematics, the cycles. It's the language of the soul, I think. Yeah.
yeah. It's the equation, isn't it? I mean, we're
Yeah.
just we're just at that point where it's all balancing. Hey, 18 must be it's definitely a potent number for me. I mean,
Yeah.
this is 18 years, right now is 18 years after my second experience of having a huge shift.
Oh, it
So
is.
this is the third, this is the third big shift. It's happening right now.
Oh my God, that's
And it's
crazy.
the big flash.
Well, I've noticed this year, in particular, this what I call physical synchronicities, and they're just beyond just seeing numbers. There are these weird little used to be coincidences, and so one of them would be like today, which you're telling this story at 18 years old, and 18 years later, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's what happened to me. I was just told this a few weeks ago, right? And so to me, these are like physical synchronicities telling us that we're on the right track with more than one person, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we leave ourselves signposts, very much
Mm, yeah.
on our journey, don't we, to get our attention. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's really nice confirmation that although there's a huge amount of chaos out there, there's an order as well, and we can't escape the order of things and the timing.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Let go or be dragged at this point.
Yeah.
I love that
Yeah.
Zen proverb. But yeah, and then what you said about the chaos. Um, I don't know what's happening here. For me, again, having these conversations every day makes it easier for me to kind of connect the dots and pick up code from other people, and through the interaction of the third energy that we create, and people that are participating, whether they're watching live or on a replay. But this this I'm starting to wonder how much of this is real chaos and how much of it is being presented. You know, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I do. I feel like, yeah, that's a really good question. And I think a lot of stuff is pumped chaos. But also, if we didn't have the chaos, we wouldn't have the code to change it. We wouldn't without the ship, we wouldn't be able to turn the ship around, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So
No, I
I
totally
kind of,
agree.
yeah, I've been calling this time that we've been in for several years now, very, very acutely over the last 5 or 6 years. I've been calling it the storm of creation. And it's a great storm. It's everything. It's every single part of us being revealed, no matter how deeply buried. And we're reaching the really deeply buried stuff now that we've shoved under the rug and stood on and trampled down and, just hidden. And it's, thank God for the storm. We wouldn't be able to make it back without back to home base without every single coordinate of our chaos, of our fracture.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I have a friend of mine, pretty tapped in sister, and we've been friends for quite some time, several years, and she's very tapped in, and she's watched me operate over the years, and it's kind of driven her crazy because she's very controlled, and I operate in that free energy space that looks very chaotic, and I guess it is sometimes, but there's always a creative element that's driving it. And so she told me after a particular episode we had 3 or 4 years ago, she took her about a year to come to this conclusion, and we ended up meeting. She said, I got to tell you what happened. So she saw two paths. One she called the path of fate, and I think the other one was the path of fear. And the path of fear ran on control, trying to control things, which is the one she was on. And then she called mine the path of fate, meaning I'm okay with whatever happens, but it's driven by chaos or from the chaos.
Mm,
So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I look at this particular lifetime as a summary life where all the elements, let's just say of the recent soul lineage or human lineage, are thrown into it. All the
mm,
karmic connections that need to be reworked, and just everything.
yeah,
So it's like a concentrated experience. And then to me, it's a great microcosm of the whole thing because you can only go as high as you've gone low. And so we jump into these incarnations to have new experiences and expand ourselves and therefore the universal. But this series of incarnations on the earth has been, as many people have said, Dolores Cannon, Edgar Casey, and so on, the toughest school in the multiverses. I mean, this has been the deepest dive we've ever taken. There's no doubt, right?
absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to get a very little bit biblical here, but we can't open the gates of heaven without opening the gates of hell. And we can't find the sweet spot You know, we can't find the love without facing all of it. And yeah, this is the lifetime of every edge we've ever been up against, you know, in our soul has to be met and loved again. And it's a bit like having to go to the library of your whole soul and your being and withdraw every single book from that library and own it and file it properly, in balance. And yeah, it's extraordinary. What a lifetime.
Yeah, it's like a great equalizer. Like I feel like that, part of, and I think a lot of people like us can relate to, like when you're young and you're, still close to God, let's put it that way, like 3, 4, 5 years old, and you have the sensitivities and you have the connection and you have the clarity and the vision. And then the world starts to rear its ugly head and you start to say, well, this isn't fair, or that wasn't nice. And it's kind of like an equality or inequality kind of scenario. But I feel like what's happening now is everybody's being brought down to the same level playing field because the apocalypse, Greek etymology, unveiling, revealing, is really not about what's going on out there. It's what's being shown to us individually. And as we, like you said, as we face all those and file them properly, then the external experience that we share follows suit. That's
Yeah,
kind of that's kind of my take on it.
yeah,
I think yours sounds similar.
yeah, yeah. It's like it's like having the rays of creation, you know, the rainbow
Mm.
to paint with freely, you know. But before we can paint with it freely, we have to clean up our palette. You know, if we were an artist in a studio wanting to create a new canvas and create what we really desire with it, then the palette has to be not only clean, but it has to have the love ingredient in it as well. And I think it's the love ingredient that we get from the journey, of meeting ourselves across all those different borders of conflict, and in that, with that, rainbow and palette thing, we're faced with we're so often faced with a muddy palette where we've just dipped our brush in all the colors and everything's turned to brown. And this process is like sorting your palette out so that you can actually paint again, but with the richness, of having been through all of that. That's the real gold, isn't it, that we're hitting now? Not that we're just returning to a place of before, but we're arriving at a place of now where we've actually done it. We've done that. We came to do it. The biggest challenge that could ever be set. We're doing it. We've done it. And lots of us, I mean, we're all doing it, and we're setting ourselves free to be the at the center of our rainbow. I feel like I'm in the pot of gold at the moment. Right at the right
Yeah,
at the heart. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I love what you're saying. I totally agree. Yeah, it's kind of like you fell into a pile of shit and came out with a pot of gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the shadow and the shit is the gold. And
It
to
is the
your
gold.
point, yeah, to your point is, you know, I think another thing I've noticed this year, because I think 25 has just been it's a whole new world. It's just going to take a while to get used to it. But, you know, so much of what we've received came from out there, you know, the transmissions, the channelings, the memories, the visitations, the whatever. And so there was a lot of identification that was necessary, let's just say since 2012, just to keep it simple, for us to refamiliarize ourselves with who we are and what we are, right? And kind of figure out what are we doing here together. But anyway, my point is that now it feels like there's been an integration or convergence or ultimately a shift in our human awareness of our human. And what I mean by that is that I feel like that what's happened this year and as time goes on, we're going to have a greater and greater and greater appreciation and reverence for our human journey. And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying. Like all this time we've been like, we're the redheaded stepchild at the soul monadic table. And I don't want to be here. And oh my God, what is going on? And where is God? And, beam me up and get me out of here, or whatever. But now I think we're starting to realize we're not going anywhere, number one. Number two, the glory is in the journey, and we haven't tapped into that. We have done shadow work and a lot of shadow work. And I'm not saying the shadows aren't still there, but I think the game has changed. I think the game has shifted from, instead of sifting in our shadows, to find the gold and neutralize things and transform things, we can start to create now. And as we create, it'll burn off the last vestiges of the shadow, because our relationship with the shadow is changing. We're not looking at it anymore as the grind and the drudgery. We're looking at it as, oh my God, this is like, to your point, and we've actually done this. We've actually done this. We can flip the switch now.
Yeah.
And so it's great to hear you say that.
Yeah, the shadow's so ready, the shadow's ready to come home. It's tired. It's a really exhausted part of us. It's been kicking around for a long time, and I think everything's got its homing beacon kind of switched on at the moment, and it's become the collective field has become, well, it's become a joy. There's so much joy in that space for me now. I mean, I started working with the collective field 18 years ago, very consciously, but
And what
not very.
happened and what precipitated that? Because you mentioned 18 years later you were ready. They turned it back on. Was there something that happened that was allowed you
Yeah,
to access that field?
yeah, something happened, but it was a long time coming from the actual happening. I mean, my first awakening at 18 was the result of heartbreak, and um, that just broke my heart open. So there was a chink there. There was enough of a chink for whatever stepped in or whatever woke up to have that experience. And then I had another I had another heartbreak at the age of 28. So my Saturn return was really rocky, and it did everything a Saturn return's supposed to do. It just threw me into a very, very dark space and a really big spin. And I was in England at the time, and I actually, I was on the run from myself big time, big time, trying to get away from Tori. How do I leave all this shit behind? And so I came to New Zealand trying to outrun myself. I got to New Zealand in 2003, and yeah, and then it was a huge contrast for me because I was very, very sociable, yeah, very, very hedonistic, in those days. I was an artist, I was a sculptor, and yeah, there was just a lot of party and a lot of chaos and a lot of alcohol involved. And then I came to New Zealand and met an amazing man here, within a few days of being here, and who I was with for a very long time, who's my best friend these days and the father of my beautiful daughter. Um, and life stood still, life just stood still. Life conspired to put me in a really still space. So I went from London to rural New Zealand, living in a valley in the middle of nowhere. Um, yeah, and I had to face myself. There was no choice. There was absolutely no choice. And I think one of the most poignant moments of the lead up to my awakening is I'd had an exhibition of sculpture in Wellington, in the capital, and I was really, really feeling down and gloomy because I hadn't sold anything, and I'd put my heart and soul into this show, and I felt like I delivered everything and nothing was received. And yeah, I was miserable. And my partner came home from work one day and saw this misery that I was wallowing in. And he said to me, Tori, sculpture's not who you are. It's just what you're doing at the moment. And yeah, I'd never come across that kind of, it was my identity. You know what it's like when we're just, we're armored up to the hilt with our identity and, the fear of not being anything, not being anything or not achieving and, you know, and so being an artist, I wore that costume. I wore that costume from about the age of 5. I think I decided, yeah, I'm going to be an artist. And I just went down that road and, it was what lit me up. Yeah, it was just my path. And, I've always been very stubbornly on my path. And so I went to art college, worked as a professional sculptor, model maker in lots of industries, in film. Film's what brought me over to New Zealand because there was a lot going on here at the time. They'd actually just finished the whole Lord of the Rings stuff, but there was, it was still a really busy place for that. And yeah, and I had to drop, I had to drop that identity. And I also, yeah, I left England at a time where it was all going really well in that, for my career. And I came here and I had to just drop the whole lot and start again. And that was the precursor to a huge shift of consciousness, which was just like most of the veils just, disappearing, not even overnight, but just one day. But I did give myself notice of that because it was so shocking that had I not had notice of it through messages that could reach me and people that I then reached out to who could bring more of the message through to me, if I wasn't prepared with, really solid people around me at the time, I would have been on a psych ward for sure. There would have been no going back from that. So
Well, many of us were.
yeah.
Truth.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
know.
truth. If you look at the
Yeah.
number of, yeah, what do you want to call us? Light workers, star seeds that have uh, time in the psych ward and or incarceration. Which is
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing. It's funny because I read an interesting article yesterday, and it was talking about how most of the world's geniuses are in mental institutions. It
Whoa.
was, I won't go into it all, but it was a very interesting thing. It reminded me of my friend Pamela, who had her first occurrence around the time you did. It was in 1987, the harmonic convergence, and so she was institutionalized and put in a psych ward for 3 days, and she met 5 or 6 other people that had the same story she did. They
Oh
all
wow.
they all said we're from another planet. We don't know what we're doing here. So there's a lot to be said for that. Um, you know, um, the personal harmonic convergences, the personal transformations, the different stories, and how some have come over a period of time, and some all come like a big cosmic dump truck, just unloads on top of your head one day, like it seems like it did with you. Um, and I think there's a lot to this. Uh, the contrast of the stories in terms of how we come to terms with uh, letting go of our identities. And you're basically sitting there going, well, what's left? Who am I? The who am I takes on this whole, evolution and de-evolution and re-evolution, and then you end up at nothing. Uh, I like to write. And last night I was writing something. How can I pretend any longer? Because by my human death, my soul continues to grow stronger. Uh, it's soothing past life shadows, bringing in the new codes, kind of like what you were talking about. But my point in that was to marry the two, to understand that letting go, letting go, letting go is just as intricate, if not half of the evolution of creating new code, because that's
Yeah.
really what we're doing. We're creating new code because how can you create new code? There's only one way to do it. You got to be boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And I think this is why I've always had, and I think a lot of us can relate to this kind of rebellious, nonconformist, resistant, hard-headed, stubborn soul makes a stubborn human. Because we've known at some level inside that we're important. And so I know I've had a lot of what I call come to Jesus meetings with the universe over the years, I'm always, honorable and in reverence, but I'm also a bit, like that. And I'll tell them, hey, wait a minute, I'm the boots on the ground here. I'm going to have a say so, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's what we're getting to. But as many voices converging into one, and it's a personal thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see the whole thing is happening inside of each one of us.
Do you mean that you're like taking charge, you're taking control of the whole equation,
Uh,
not being
yeah, in a sense of like, and I like your analogy of the palette. I use that a lot. So in other words, we've been given all this information as we've evolved, and it's expanded our palette to paint with, right?
Mm.
But there are new colors, new births, new universes, new lives, new creations that come from the experience. In other words, all those colors that we've been given, we actually had before we came into this thing,
Mm.
and we'll have when we leave. But in
Yeah.
between is the experience itself, which is the teacher. And from that experience, you have the potential, an opportunity to create new colors. And the way that's done is by what we've experienced, mixing them with what we've had. And yeah, so I feel like that, for me, are my intentions pure in this thought, word, action? Am I coming from unconditional love? Am I merging my free will with universal will? Like that's my target is to align with that for the highest and best for everyone. That's kind of how I see it.
That's beautiful. It's perfect. It's
Mm.
kind of how I see it too.
Well, it's like we've tried everything else. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember having I can't believe you remember that from 6 years ago. And this is 6 years to the day that you discovered this show. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But I
I've
remember
had a very
having that's just, but there we go. The cookie crumb trails, right? But I
yeah.
remember having Mother Mary's always been a strong consciousness in my life. And so once I got into this round, since 2011, she pops in a lot. And I remember she spent a week with me one time, right before I was about to hit the road in 2016, and unknowingly. And so she said, she took me to this whole thing for about a week. And then at the end, when the initiation was over, she said, now, who are you going to listen to? And I said, me. And then she said, if it comes down to me and you, who are you going to listen to? And I said, me. And she said, right answer. So, yeah, I think there is something about owning and being made in the image, all the composition of that which made us and exercising it to our best ability, in this new atmosphere, which seems to be running on like spontaneity, intuitiveness, creativity, imagination, and a lot of fucking courage.
Yeah. A lot of courage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How did you get indoctrinated into the universal Akashic or consciousness or mind, did you have certain faces of the universe that came to you, galactic, elemental? Was it just a singular voice within you? How did that go for you? Obviously, you're an artist, so I would imagine some
Yeah.
of it came through that.
Well, look, it's a really good question. I felt really hard done by at the beginning of my journey because I didn't have a guide. That was I was like, where are my guides? What's going on here? Everybody's got guides, and I had no guides. Um, and everything came um, from within. There wasn't a, I mean, there's always an external influence, going on, but I never, I never saw, yeah, I mean, look, Todd, I mean, I had lots of contact with galactic beings, but I never, I never had like a right-hand man that was guiding me or, someone that stepped in and said, hey, I'll help. And yeah, I can remember the disappointment with it's a terrible thing to say, but the disappointment with Archangel Michael when I used to call on him because he'd just stand there like that and go, no, it's over to you. You do it, you know what you're doing. Which I'm really grateful for. I'm so grateful for that because I was shown very quickly that it was me,
Yeah,
that
I,
I
I get
was,
that.
yeah, that
Yep.
everything that I was receiving was me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what ends up happening. I mean, I know a lot of people that would come on the show would talk about, and it happened to me too. You know, when I first reawoke, you have a bunch of guides come in the door, and then all of a sudden, after a while, they're all gone, uh, because essentially there's a sequence of embodiment. You know what I mean? And so we start to realize that. I mean, when I reawoke, it was a 1:11 in the morning. I was about to go to bed, and a big starburst kind of thing was flying towards me and stopped in the trees and became the face of a cosmic Christ and started talking to me. So, as an example, when that happened, I saw that as an external. But then
Mm.
as years went by, I realized that was my higher self talking to me. That was my soul just projecting
Mm.
something that I could put my arms around. Um, so yeah, and I feel like too in talking to people this year, there's really over the last 2 or 3 years, there's less and less and less talk about the external communication, so to speak. And there's more coming from within. A lot of modalities and processes being dropped, a lot of platforms being eliminated, a lot of things that we did during this important 12-year period, um, to bring us to this point in 2025, dropping away. And it's a lot like the story with your Archangel Michael, because, yeah, you're left standing there because it is all you. So, and this
Yeah.
is what I was talking about earlier about that voice, about being the boots on the ground. And am I uh, there's something that happens when our human consciously aligns with that
Mm.
universal will, which to me
Yeah.
is like the Trinity energy. Like whatever I do, think, say is going to serve me is equally as it serves you and the collective. So that's kind of like the bead or the you know what I mean, the stream that you try to surf on.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's happening whether we like it or not. And
Yeah.
everybody's included, even if you don't, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think the other great thing about the Archangel Michael thing was we've got to heal from our abandonment wound, haven't we? And being feeling abandoned by an archangel was perfect. Really.
Isn't that a great reflection though?
Yeah.
Because if we all look at the real gold that we've had and will have, because we still have some things coming to the surface, were those dark nights of the soul. And in those dark nights of the soul, for many of us, it was a faith. It was a crisis of faith or lack of
Mm.
faith. There was the questions of why me, or, you know, why is this happening to me? And then there was that eerie silence in the darkness of the void where, yeah, it was just you and the universe
Mm.
having a conversation that really, I think, were the seeds, or maybe they were the seeds sprouting, and we didn't know it.
Yeah, yeah. No middleman after all. Really.
Do you receive? I know you're a practitioner, aren't you? Do you work with people?
Yeah, I do work with people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you've been tapped in a long time. And you know, I can feel it too. Like so many people. Do you receive much collective intel, or is it mostly on a personal basis?
No, it's mostly collective.
Oh, really?
It's
Yeah.
mostly collective. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
real
I
interesting.
mean,
Yeah.
and then when I work with, individuals, it's, it pinpoints the individual, which is always connected to the collective. But yeah, so my, back 18 years ago, my huge, experience was the beginning of a journey with the heartbreak of humanity. And yeah, being like I was immediately, connected to the trauma of the collective heart. And I had years and years of work with the energy of conflict. I mean, I've still been, still doing it. The battlefields and the actual physical battlefields on the planet, the battlefields of our heart. But just, yeah, I woke up, I was having a relatively normal life. I mean, I've always been fairly out of the box being an artist, but when it first started happening, I couldn't leave my house for 6 weeks. I had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of soul fragments turning up, on a daily basis for years and years. And it was
Now, were these your soul fragments or collective?
a collective, yeah. Um, and,
Kind of like the
you know,
picture, kind of like the art behind you.
yeah, that's one of mine.
Yeah, that's
Yes, so
fascinating. It's fascinating.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I saw a lot of shadow, a lot of mass shadow. And it was really hard to, when you're going through such a huge process within yourself, it's really hard to articulate it. I've said for years that actually doing the work that I do with the collective energy is actually easier than talking about it. It comes more naturally because you don't have to language it. You just know what you're doing. And that was my experience with the collective heart. But yeah, years and years of soul fragments and battlefields. It was really good waking up in New Zealand because there's not as many battlefields, historically. The actual physicality of war hasn't taken place here as much as it has in Europe, where I was. And I think it was probably 18 months after um, my awakening in 2007 that I returned to England. And landing at Heathrow Airport was just hilarious. And if I didn't have my partner to hold on to, I was literally holding on to him because I could feel the wounds in the grid. And I could feel it was like the whole grid had been ripped. And I just kept disappearing down it, obviously not physically, but yeah, it was it was an absolute blessing to be living in New Zealand doing that work.
It was a good move by your soul.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot of
yeah.
people getting relocated and rearranged right now. I noticed that's been going on for a few months. It's happened to me, and I have a feeling it's going to happen again soon. Um, yeah. So and I've met and I would say the vast majority, obviously sisters, that in one way or another, they're tapped into, yeah, to the collective humanity. to the earth, to Mother Earth, to the history, to everything. So they have that hypersensitivity that, can by itself put you in the psych ward, if you're
Yeah.
if you're around the
Yeah.
wrong people. I don't know. But how about now? How does it feel to you now, or do you have a feel for what's going on now? Um, because I can appreciate what you were saying at the beginning of the show about the chaos and everything. There does seem to be an element of um, consistent, deliberate, steady uh, progress on this road, this grid that we've all kind of built collectively for years and years, and maybe underestimated. It seems to be coming to the surface now. Not to say that we're not having our individual fits and spurts, and there's things going on in the world that are still going to come out and all that stuff. But what's your take on it now? Do you have one?
Oh, definitely. I the I've had stability in my life, Todd. I've had energetic stability in my life for months now. I used to be lucky if I could string a few hours together, and I'm sure it's the same for you and lots of people in this field because we're dealing with we're dealing with polarity, we're dealing with the all the magnetic forces of creation, but there's been a settling, enough of the equation of the chaos has been found, and the peace fields have opened. There's a stability in the core of enough of us now. And I used to I used to feel like a pillar. I used to feel like a pillar, holding this balance. And then I've, spent years feeling like a bridge, bridging the gap, to support the energy to run through the collective heart. But none of that's relevant for me. None of that's relevant because it's just the fields of peace and the fields of gold, they're open. It's here, we're in the love zone. That's my, take on it now. And I wouldn't have been able to sit here I wouldn't have been able to sit here with you a few months ago
I believe you.
because it wasn't
Yeah, I believe.
stable enough. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can relate to this. Yeah, maybe not so much in the past because I've always been pretty active and moved a lot. And a couple of years ago, I slowed down the shows quite a bit, and then I started to pick them up in May. But I would say that from the 1st of June through now, if I'm not doing a show or doing a little bit of work, not a lot, like maybe an hour on the computer, um, or I'm laying flat on my back on the mattress behind me, staring at the ceiling fan. That's pretty much it. I can't do a whole lot. If I have to go to town, it's I go in, I get what I need, I come back.
Yeah.
It's it's been pretty obvious to me that this kind of I call it the universal isolation, where we have this deep integration and contemplation in preparation to come
Mm,
out. And that's another thing that I kind of pick up from you, from what you're saying right now, and other people, and even myself, but particularly a lot of people that have mentioned this over the years, and certainly this year, which is where we're being kind of like there's hands on the back of on our back pushing us forward. It's time to come out now,
yeah.
kind of thing. Can you relate to
Yeah.
that?
I can so relate to that, Todd. I've been hiding for years. You know, I really have. And being really hard on myself for doing that, but literally unable to do anything about it. And, it was a timing thing. It's literally just been a timing thing. I mean, yeah, I've been neutralizing. I've had to reach that place of neutrality to have the balls to come out of my cave, really. It's been a gradual process. I've been dragged kicking and screaming to my own finish line.
I think many of us have.
Yeah. Yeah.
In regard to this neutrality, I think that's a powerful term, and because so many words, their meanings and their definitions have expanded broadly.
Mm,
Some are falling away, but some are taking on multi-dimensional attributes, I guess. But in terms of like reaching that neutrality, because I get what you're saying, it's like it's not even about how you treat people and and how what are your motives, and it's more like no, we're on present time only now, so it's not just what you do, it's what you say and also what you think. So to be in that space, I don't know how it's gone for you, but was there or is there a relationship between those things that you as an individual had to internally kind of work out, the mother, the father, the exes, the
mm.
family, the friends, the foes, the prejudices, the biases, is this how you got to this point or how you're getting to this point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had to meet every edge, whether that be, yeah, all your unresolved stuff. I had to take all the rugs up and, see what was underneath. And oh, look, it's become easier over the years, but I think the fuel that I've gathered from transmuting, so much of so much of my stuff is just that energy just brings everything out of its hiding place, doesn't it? And so nothing's remained unsaid. I find myself these days just there's no guard on my mouth anymore. I used to feel very gagged, like I couldn't, I was too ashamed to, speak my truth. And these days there's no stopping it. Um, there's nothing that I can do about it. I mean, obviously, I use sensitivity when I'm doing it, but it used to, that used to stay hidden. But I think the equation is we just meet enough of our edge to be in our hearts. And my process, the process with me has been the challenge. I mean, it's the same challenge for all of us. How much can you hold in your heart? How much can you love? And when we hold the whole cosmos in our hearts, we can stand at the center. And I don't, from my own personal journey, I haven't found another way of doing that. It's everything. And I'm not saying go out and seek your edge. It will come to you. It's magnetically drawn because it's the magnetic forces of creation. They're magnetized to us. There is no stopping it. It's a tidal wave, and it's happening whether we face it or not. But if we run away from it, we just get, well, it can be really messy. But if we turn and face that, then we just become it.
Yeah.
I had an experience. Well, I've had an experience recently where I felt like I had a mountain to climb, and it felt really overwhelming. I mean, I've been so overwhelmed over the last few years. There's been a huge amount of overwhelm. It's calm now, but it is beautifully calm now. But this, recent mountain, I just thought, oh, there's another mountain. I'm not going to try and climb it, and I'm not going to try and walk around it. I'm just going to walk straight through it. And yeah, and then it's that kind of like openness to knowing that our obstacles are actually us. It's all us, that actually makes it possible to walk through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Um, when I reawoke, so 14 years ago, that was one of the first things. Well, that was what was drilled into me for the first couple of years daily was, you know, it's not about the circumstances or the consequences that got you here. It's all on you.
Yeah.
And that took a long time to swallow. Um, having successive traumas like so many of us have in tandem with our wake up, in tandem with the dark nights. And I always try to on the show at certain points to equate everything to the human experience because that's one thing that I see is, I know that we're all the I am soul, and also all know that we all have shared the same human condition. So everybody's pain is the same, whether you like it or not. Everybody's love is the same, whether you like it or not. It's all proportionate to our own life experience. But for me, what I've noticed within myself and, just watching the field, which is kind of interesting that it's kind of like somebody turned the fire up, the burner got turned up this summer, is the externalization, is operating in that neutrality to me means putting no expectations or responsibilities or conditions on anyone else or anything outside of you. It's all your creation. And everything that we're being presented, like you said, magnetically, is being presented to us by ourselves. To work with these things, these are not antagonistic energies. These are the same thing that we are. It's just
Yeah.
like a big, I see it a lot now, especially this year, like plasma. For me, like I feel like we're moving through things, and it's not slow motion, but it's slower. You can work with things. You can pause. And put whatever spin you want onto it. And I also like your analogy of the. You didn't say it, but it's almost like a tsunami. Like here's
Yeah.
that mountain, and you watch those tsunami videos. Yeah, God bless those people too.
Mm,
And the tsunami comes in, and everybody starts running, and I
mm,
would too, I guess.
yeah.
But yeah, you're the metaphor of turning around and facing reality,
Yeah.
facing that which is bigger than all of us. And yeah, so if the tsunami's going to eat me up, I'm going to find something I can surf on and see if I can get a little fun out of it on the way out the door. But yeah, I feel like that there's one of the big watersheds or big bridges that we're crossing is eliminating that externalization. It's not my ex's fault. It's not my mom's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not the Vatican's fault. There is no fault. To operate in the highest efficacy as a soul in aware that they're in this body is to be in that space of complete accountability. And this is a
Mm,
tough thing to work out. But I think we've done a lot better than we thought.
I
And I
think
think
so too.
it's going to start to show pretty quick. It's
Yeah.
already showing.
It's showing. Yeah. We've done it all. I think we all got sent to our rooms a few years ago to tidy up, didn't we?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes. And I think that's still happening.
Yeah.
It may not be for as long as spells, you
Yeah.
know.
And I
And
think
it,
it's
it
just, oh, sorry. I
no, go
just
ahead.
think I think there's a lot of variations of the journey happening, obviously, because there's a lot of us on the planet at the moment, but um, there's a lot knocking on our doors, there's an awful lot knocking on our doors. And I don't think it's any accident at all that we've got the internet and, if you want it, news just being broadcast from here, there, and everywhere. If you need to meet that, then you need to meet it. And it's an opportunity to meet ourselves. I have recently, I've recently turned all the news off. That's really recent. I mean, I didn't used to. I haven't actually watched the news per se for decades. But in the excitement of the storm of the last few years, I've needed to look because I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to know what's going on because it's us, isn't it? Um, and but I have reached a point very recently where I just like I took YouTube. I didn't take YouTube off my phone, but I deleted, my history because I got caught up in my own algorithm. And then when I deleted that, I noticed that I started getting addicted to Facebook, and I'd be scrolling, to get my fix on the drama. And yeah, I realized that it was actually that I'd reached a point where I was kind of like recycling and perpetuating the loop, and that actually I could step out, and it's been beautiful since I've stepped out. I haven't heard anything. The only news that's reached me from the external world in the last few weeks was the diamond heist from the Louvre, and I love a good diamond heist. That's the
I missed
that's
that
the,
one. I'm,
oh
I'm,
yeah,
yeah,
oh yeah,
I'm a
that was
big
a few
lover
weeks
of,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
clandestine, activities.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. And I totally agree with you. I haven't watched a movie in 2 years, even a movie. I can,
Okay.
for myself, I can see and feel the programming on a Netflix
Yeah,
movie or whatever the
yeah.
case is. I don't care how, how connected you feel to the character or this or that. Now, here's the other thing that you're speaking to that I think is happening. I'm not saying this is the gospel or I know anything. I'm just observing and sharing because I really feel like that's huge for us right now. It's not just the internal revelations and epiphanies and levels of awareness that we have. It's what we share with each other in that space, which is
Mm.
that transparency you were talking about. But if you consider the menu on, let's just say, Facebook, X, YouTube, etc.
Menu,
Well,
menu. Did
like
you?
the,
Yeah.
yeah, in other words, you can find what you want to find.
Mm, mm.
You can find those things that rationalize your existence.
Yeah,
You know, you can
yeah.
find those things that, I want to put up a post almost every day when I get in there and I start working and I get a load of it, or people make comments on my post or whatever. I never comment back, but I want to say everybody's a fucking expert. What are we even doing here?
Yeah,
Why do we need to tell anything to anybody? Because everybody's so fucking smart now.
yeah.
Because everybody's got the right answer and the advice. And I'm just being facetious. But my point is that even if we continue to ignore that which is becoming a pervading part of our consciousness, uh, and we continue to, oh, I like this video because it's shoring up my position in my relationship, or it's shoring up my position politically. It's
Mm,
it's feeding my own false sense of idealism, or whatever the case is. The universal energy is not even allowing that anymore. It's
no.
not gonna it's not gonna let you BS yourself. It's
Yeah,
just not gonna do it.
yeah,
And this is the real stuff. I feel like this is where we're at. Like
yeah,
this is huge. Like this month is huge. Last month was huge. This month is crazy. This month is just nuts. And it's burn, baby, burn. No more. We're in the no BS zone.
we are.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and if we can be honest with ourselves, which I think we are more than we've thought, but now it's like, you know, now it's like the final call. Like,
yeah.
you're going to be straight with yourself, and this is the information we share with each other. And I think
Mm,
art is a great example of that type of continuum. That type of field of expression, that pipeline, uh,
mm.
because it's very authentic, it's transparent, it's unknown, it's not planned all the time. just You just start doing it, and then it becomes its own self evolving consciousness itself, really. And I feel like that this is the level of communication that we're coming to, or that we're at, and it actually operates on the human voice.
Yeah,
Having a conversation
yeah.
in a new way, in a new way.
Yeah. There's so much in the voice, isn't it? Isn't there? It's so
Mm,
rich. I
yeah.
mean, it's an art form. Just speaking is an
Mm,
art form, but being in a creative space, with our gifts is, that's, artists when they're creating, they're touching their heart, they're
yeah.
they're in their treasure chest. They're
Yeah.
in their magic zone, and not just in their magic zone for themselves, they're there with a willingness to share. It's the willingness to, it's the creating something to, bring to the world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, my friend, my brother Ty, he says something like, "Well, you know, it's a pure download when it's immediately shareable."
Mm,
And I think there's a lot to be said for that. So, having done a show that's not like I never meet with anybody beforehand, um, doing a lot of music with him and others over the years, all of them in a spontaneous format.
mm,
No rehearsals, nothing. There's something about operating in that presence
mm.
that brings in a whole nother level of magic. It's
Yeah,
crazy, you know.
it is magic.
It's
I've seen
crazy.
some of they're wonderful. Are you still doing that now? Because I know I've seen some over the years of
Oh
you
yeah, yeah,
guys together.
yeah.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah, we're doing it like once or a couple times a week now.
Oh, cool.
But I mean, there's this third energy thing, and I noticed it years ago. It was in 2016. I did like 100 music videos. I did, they were like my own channel, and all of them were one take. I would just write some words, put on some music, push record, and then go. And
Yeah,
then pretty early on, my soul said, "Look, don't listen to them a second time. Just put them up and make the images." So I can remember on several occasions, but like one example, and although there wasn't another person involved, at least not in the physical sitting next to me, because there were consciousnesses that I was working with, but I put it out spontaneously. I make a video. I don't even know what I'm doing at the time. I'm
mm,
still not tech savvy like that. But and then when I go to play the video, there's like a white light that's beating with the bass line, or the pictures fall just perfectly to the, you know what I mean? There's this other element that happens, and I've noticed it with the like the improvs that we do, over the years. It just happens. It may not be the whole hour, but you'll have these moments, these 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes of harmonic balance, and
yeah,
it's almost to me, it is a consciousness. It is
yeah,
it is something that's put out there, uh, and I believe that's the kind of um, consciousness, plasma, uh, creative energy that we're working with now. It's not polished, it's not rehearsed, it's not planned. You just jump into the fray with your friends and
yeah.
start swimming, so you don't sink and drown.
It's true. It's true. It's the miracle zone, isn't it? When we get
Mm,
right in there,
yeah.
it's the miracle zone. I had a profound experience probably 5 years ago when I knew I had to get a website up. Um, and I thought I got myself sat down at my keyboard ready to type my introduction. And it came through as poetry. I got one line delivered after the other. I haven't written another poem since, but it created, it created itself, those ones that just create themselves. And I recorded it. It formed a, transmission on my website, which is called Reset to Love. Um, I could do it for you now if
Yeah,
you'd
do it.
like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the Reset to Love transmission, and it's on my website as well. But Reset to Love is an invitation. Love is the destination. Love is the force at the heart of all creation. It's calling to you now, calling you to choose it, calling you to choose you as your greatest love of all. You are your greatest treasure chest. You are your lock and key. With key and lock together, you will set you free. You are your own transporter. You are your ship and sea. Would you like to own your battlefields and feel yourself as free? Come dance with me in unity. Come dance with me at dawn. Duality is over. It's time to be reborn. We have played on all the stages. We have acted all the parts. We have been the broken pieces of all our broken hearts. We chose to feel this tearing, this breaking of the heart. We chose to play creation. We knew this at the start. We even knew the pain would be the greatest pain of all, the loss of one another in the stumble of the fall. You knew you couldn't lose me, that one day we'd unite, and that many times you'd see me as the object of your fight. Open up your borders, put down your sword and shield, call your broken pieces from your battlefield. The fighting game is over. The DJs changed the song. Are you coming home, my friend? The journey has been long. This message is from you to you. It washed up on your tide. It came here to remind you of the I you are inside. I came to wake me up again. I came to set me free. I came here to remind me I am you and you are me. Reset to love is an invitation. Love is the destination. Love is the force at the heart of all creation. It's calling to you now, calling you to choose it, calling you to choose you as your greatest love of all.
Wow. That was nice. That was real nice. Hey, since you're been forced to come out and play now, do you want to do another show next month?
That would be fantastic, Todd. Yeah, I'd love it.
Okay. We've
Yeah,
got a yeah.
enforced
Uh
playtime.
well I normally go like an hour and a half, but we have another one that comes up in 15 minutes, which was because he's in Queensland. So the southern hemispheres are kind of hard. I don't have as much of a range that I can deal with them, but I still feel like even if we'd have talked an hour and a half or even 2 hours, we could go another. Yeah. So if you want to do next month, I'll send you some dates here later today. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been fantastic talking to you. I feel like I'm talking to an old sister, an old friend, family, monad, whatever. And there seems to be more and more of that happening. I really like that poem because that's really what it's coming down to. You know, I mean, I am you and you are me, and there is no in between.
No middleman.
Just get out of the way here. If we
Yeah,
both get out of the way, then that third
yeah,
energy can take over, like that picture behind you. That's the way I
yeah,
see it. But
yeah.
yeah, thanks for coming in, and
Thank
I
you, God.
really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody. Had a lot of people on the three platforms. Thank you for joining us. We got another show in 13 minutes with Daniel Scranton, uh, Chandler. A lot of people know him. And I just want to say also thank you, everybody, for your continued love and support and contributions that allow me to keep doing this every single day. And we'll see Tori again next month.
Yay. Thank you, Todd. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing work you
Appreciate
do.
you.